Welcome to the Talk and Chatter experience powered by Gasoline Alley Harley Davidson, Pirelli Motorcycle Tyres Australia, and TCX Boots. Yeah, I'll let you run with it, Ferg.
Perfect, Mick. Welcome to the Talk and Chatter experience. We've got a slightly different format here today. The special guest at today's Talk and Chatter experience is a gentleman by the name of by the name of Mick. Welcome, Mick.
Oh, started on the back foot. You tricked me with that one. Yeah.
Where does the nickname Willie come from?
I don't know, mate. Look at the table. My hands are sweating. I need to wipe them off.
Look, the idea, I'll interrupt again because it's one of my special skills, interrupting people.
Right.
Mick, the idea behind this is obviously who is Mick?
Yep.
We see you on Talk and Chatter experience, we see you around racetracks, events, etc., etc. And we thought, hey, let's do a Who's Mick? And Mick apparently is Willie. Back to the original question.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Willie, I quite liked rugby league as I was younger. And I still like it, but I liked it a lot more when I was younger and played it and everything. There was a player called Willie Kahn up here in Queensland. He was a winger. He used to get mad concussions, actually, but he was my favourite player.
Okay.
Not because he got concussions either, just that he did. Sadly, because it probably dropped his career short. But, I got this hat, a Willie Kahn hat, because that was the representation of, my favourite player. Like, I want to be on Team Willie.
So this was when you were 20 or?
No, mate, no. Like 1995, probably.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? 18 years ago now.
Sorry, do that math again for me, mate. 1995 and the year is 2022.
Yeah, sorry, 27 years ago. Add another 10.
So we've just found out something else about Mick. His math is not the strong suit, apparently.
No, well, this is actually the wrong thing because I've done engineering math. So math is real good. English, not so. But damn, yeah, I was just a decade out. Yeah. But yeah, it's just part of the nerves, though, here. Like I'm sitting here.
So why? That's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
We've obviously spoken about doing this for a little while now, and,
yep.
and life gets in the way of us having fun. Why would you be nervous about doing your own podcast?
Because I like control. Like, there's just no doubt about it. I like control. Yep. I like my own situation, my own environment to work. And if I'm going to be put on the back foot, like being the first question, like, where's Willie come from?
Sorry, I just thought that was
good.
Kind of an obvious question. I did, as you know, I spent a bit of time with your lovely partner, Annie, just asking her a few bits and pieces. And, she didn't want to throw you under the bus more than 15 or 20 times.
Yeah.
And she said that. She goes, straight up, Ferg, you got to ask him about his nickname when he was a kid,
It was weird because, I got branded straight away. Like, I moved to Queensland. So I moved from northern New South Wales up to here. I liked the Tigers down when I was living in New South Wales and moved up here. Everyone liked the Broncos. They were 5 years in at that time. And everyone just loved the Brisbane Broncos. It was sickening, to be honest. But anyway, we got here. But Willie Kahn played for the Brisbane Broncos, and he was just a player that I identified with. And then what happened after that? Oh, that's right. I wore it to school, and everyone just called me Willie. And, my close friends from that early school still call me Willie. Just not even to take the piss anymore. It's just that's just stuck. And that's where it stayed from. And we're talking 27 years on, and there's about 2 or 3. I still got a good friendship base with those friends, but there's still 2 or 3 that'll call me that regularly.
Very cool.
Which is just from a hat, brand identity.
So that's actually very cool. And when you were talking about rugby, then I had no idea what you were talking about. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I was trying to really get into it with you because I knew I could have said anything then.
Oh, yes, Mick. Hey, look, this is about just a quick catch up, and our quick catch ups tend to not really be that quick. But so the Who is Mick, I know you, met you maybe 4 or 5 years ago as a result of a dust hustle.
Yep.
And have the pleasure of, working with you, riding with you, speaking absolute crap with you, and enjoying motorcycles. I guess where I was going there is, I met you at a motorcycle event, which I think we both agree is one of our, one of our favourite. Where does motorcycles? How did you get into motorcycles?
It's just my dad, and like he's my best mate too with it. 1987, I was 3 years old, and Dad got me a Pee, or Mum and Dad got me a Pee-wee 50 for Christmas. And I actually didn't want to ride it. So I remember sort of bits and pieces of it vividly. Don't remember much of that era, but there's certain things that stand out about my childhood. And I think this is probably anyone that's into motorbikes. Their first few rides, they remember it more than the first day of school, But I didn't want to ride it. I got it for Christmas. I was overjoyed. It was awesome. But I am a nervous person sometimes, and you've seen that with certain things. And it probably even as a child I must have been. But Dad jumped. We lived next door to a bike store, everything. So we're pretty into bikes.
So whereabouts?
This is Ballina at this time.
Yep.
So grew up. I was born down in Wollongong, where most of the good motorcycle races usually come from.
Annie may have mentioned something about calling yourself the Wollongong Whiz or something like that.
Oh, maybe. Well, we just had Wayne Maxwell in here. We've got Troy Corso, Wayne Gardner, Glenn Allerton's from around the same area.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty motorcycle heavy.
Factory.
Heavy. But I did say this to Wayne in the podcast. Is like, I was born in the same spot, but we must have just went two different ways with food and everything, But but aside from that, so we're up in northern New South Wales. My dad had bikes all through the 70s. Like you think of like the first 754 to Z1R Kawasaki, Z1000s, like rode everything through that era. Track days weren't so much called track days back then. They were more club days. So racing club days and all that sort of thing. And he probably wanted me to get into bikes, I guess. I've never really spoken to him about it, but it was just the natural thing. So got this Pee-wee, loved it, but it was probably 3 weeks I didn't get on it. And he's like, I'm going to sell it. And I carried the big tantrum on, it was on the back of the trailer. It was going for sale. The next thing we went out to the Willow Park is what it was called. There's a motorcycle track down there, a flat track. And that was where our weekends were spent. Every weekend we were out there because all our friends raced flat track. And he goes, we'll take you out there. If you don't ride it, we're selling it. And money was probably something that, this is the other side, was like, we'd probably prefer the money than, you got to use this because it's not an investment. This is going to sit. So we went out and he jumped on the back with me. And I was a bit smaller, obviously, then. And he jumped on the back. And the next thing he jumped off and I hadn't even realised. And we still got photos and everything from that day.
Very cool.
And, I was let loose on the flat track at that point and never really looked back from there.
Excellent.
And that was 1987.
How old would you have been? I'm
3.
testing your math again here.
3.
You sure?
Yeah, or 13. No, 10 years. No, I was 3 years old, so Christmas 87. Just nearly 4.
So Ballina, how long were you in Ballina? And you also said just then you lived near the bike shop.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have I've moved. I'm 38 currently. It's around number for number how many times I've moved. So I've lived in lots of different houses, lots of different areas. But quite often, we'll move a street away or something.
So around
the same area or something like that. But we did live in Sydney for a fair while, and even in my adult life, I've moved a little bit, sort of thing. And but it's always been something. I'm not a stand still type person, and I guess my parents may not have been as well. But where there was opportunity or there was work, was where you lead yourself to. And since we first met, that's how it started. You asked me about coming up here to do some work. I was living in Lismore at the time. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't care where I travel to work. So probably the same as my mum and dad at that point too. But I was living next door to Seaside Motorcycles, which is on River Street, Ballina, or Moons River Street. Main Street of Ballina anyway. It was where the highway used to pass through in Ballina. I lived in the house directly next door to there. My best friend lived 3 streets away. His dad plus his uncle plus another gentleman owned the shop. And we lived in the house next door that had the storage shed for the motorbikes as well. Yeah, well, so it had to sort of happen.
You didn't really stand a chance, did you?
Nah.
Yeah.
I was in, and If it had wheels, we were just on it.
Yep.
So yeah, that's where it was.
Your father still rides now. I met him out at QR. QR, one of the dust hustles, but
yeah.
So he still
he's been
rides
to a
now?
dust hustle and he's done the QR thing as well. But he does. He's 65, 66, somewhere around that. He rides better than me. Like I'm not saying I ride great, but I feel pretty confident as a road rider and everything.
There's another name that you go by.
Yeah.
Factory Mick.
Mick,
which would indicate you've got a little bit of skill in stretching the throttle cable. Yeah.
Hopefully. well, what are we with 35 years? You'd hope by now you get the basics right. Still very inferior on dirt. That's my. It's terrible compared. Road, I'm very adept and very comfortable and stuff. But I ride with my dad now, and he is still, even at 65, 66, a better rider. Just not so much. It's not safety or anything. Just I see his lines and everything that he does, and it's pretty incredible. And he's been through a fair few stuff, so it's pretty awesome to do.
That's very cool.
So yeah, I enjoy the rides we get to go.
Must be good fun, just getting out and
Oh, it's unreal.
Meeting the local constabulary with your father on the bikes.
Yeah, it's unreal, and like same thing. Like our last big ride was a 3 or 4 day. I think we compiled it into 3 or 4 days, but it was about 5,000 k's or something, and we went up through like a semi-tornado. I was on a proper adventure bike, and Dad was on a Triumph Tiger. Sprint or whatever it was, sort of sports one, still 17-inch road tyres, like a set of Pirelli Rosso courses or something, and went up through this mountain range in the wet, in the mud and clay, and I couldn't see him, and I was on a set of adventure tyres.
Tower job.
Yep.
How good's that?
Yeah, it's good. And he's just good. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Just got a feel for it.
Got a feel for the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Hey, so Ballina.
Yeah.
Living next door to Seaside Motorcycles. Yep. Were you one of those kids that used to stop on the walk home from school and just peer through the window and leave fingerprints all over the window for the people to clean off the following day? Or
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we're sort of like a one bike shop town.
Yep.
And a small town where everyone sort of knew everyone. But I was really lucky. Like I got to be in the back of the workshop as a kid.
Yep.
Friday afternoon, I mentioned a few times on the podcast and that as well, but Friday afternoons we'd sit there and Dad and a group of mates were all probably having beers and stuff. You remember those nippies, iced coffees and ice breakers? This might explain 115 kilos.
Mate, this might be a northern New South Wales or a southeast Queensland, maybe not a Victorian.
Oh, they were sponsored by sponsored with the Broncos and stuff. But I remember I've got a real memory of weird stuff. It's strange. I don't know what it is, but I remember being a kid. They had beer fridge. You put your probably 20 cents. Who would know at that? 1989 to sort of 1993. And then there was the kids one because everyone was having kids at that age and stuff. And we have like a Nippy's ice chocolate thing or whatever, and we'd just be riding around and round and round on the push bikes around it. So we had where Seaside is there's a main road, which was the highway. Then there was a back lane, and then another back lane. Then it was my house. So we had like a BMX track around it, and through the back of the shop, just looking at everyone working on bikes. And it was a very flat track centric club. So, the two owners were racing Australian dirt track titles at that stage, which is Mick's dad that you met on the weekend and his uncle. And Joe Fisher is another one was doing it as well. So they were all racing and building race bikes, after work hours. And we were watching that happen and doing our own flat track. I was never a motocross kid, but doing our own flat track on BMX bikes around the bike shop, around the tyre store, around the Sparky, and just trying to be as fast as you can.
Just fully tragic from a very early age.
Yeah, we're on. It could not be. And that group of people went on to, trying to race different bikes and that for years and years after that as well.
Yeah, good. Hey, so how did your flat track career go? Was it to the same standard as your road racing career that you were talking about
recently.
With me recently?
No, not really. And like, so I got the Pee-wee 50. Got a couple of like, your little trophies. It's probably what they call nowadays like participation trophies, but maybe not. I don't know. But it does say third place on it, and I've got a video that says,
third place. That's all right.
And there's a video that I've got at home, and it had like Brock Parks, that's raced World Supersport. He was in the 60s when I was a 50, and there's some pretty credible kids starting to come through that rank in that sort of era, and so in my race at that time, I had Chris and Anthony Quinn, who raced Supersport, Aussie Super, like, well-to-do races, and gradually went through and stuff. So there's never anything like that, but got to have a ride with those people, do flat track, and Dad, like, we'd go out on Tuesday and Wednesdays, and Mick, I'll keep mentioning Mick because he's a big part of my childhood, but we'd go out and just cut laps. So my dad would mow the place and look after the facility, Richmond River Motorcycle Club. And we'd just be able to ride. Like, we're in the era of pre-insurance where we have the keys to the facility and just ride and spin laps around this flat track. And I knew it off the back of my hand. Then I got an XR. I don't know if Dad was real keen on me racing, to be honest. I never really spoken to him about it. But when everyone was transferring over to things like KX60s, I got an XR80.
Yep.
So still did like club days and stuff on it and raced it and did all that. But you're never going to compete with like your KX60s, and I probably didn't have the desire to do that either. But I had a few friends that went and did it and got to ride those bikes as kids. And like this day, like a KX60 blows my mind that I got my XR at sort of 6, that you could buy a KX60 for a 6-year-old and just let them go and they'd ride it. And mate, I get on one now, still Ferg, and I think it'd still shock me, little 60-cylinder, 60cc two-stroke.
Yep.
It's a little piston that spins pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Has that got that power band fitted to it?
Yeah, like, and that was it. Like, and it's been a little bit to the detriment of the modern rider in me now, doing all that flat track. Like, that was my routine, basically. I knew that circuit so much. Now I do, like, the adventure tours I do, standing up. Anything like that's real foreign. The basics of riding, it all comes back to those foundations of that. I need to tell myself something different.
My thoughts on standing up on adventure bikes and stuff like that. If you weren't meant to sit down, why do they put a seat on?
They're not Charles bikes, though.
No.
So that to answer that though, but and then we moved. We sort of broke away from Ballina in '93.
Yep.
We came up to Queensland for my dad's work. Didn't know zip, like just come here. We sold my XR down there, and I didn't really ride too much. One thing was money. Like, it was expensive to have motorcycles and stuff, and we were starting a new life in Queensland. So I didn't do it, but I rode push bikes then, and just that replaced the motor. We never did replace it. I always wanted one every year, but it wasn't until I got a job. And did it, which is the same as everyone else. And and then we got to there, and it's not through want and desire that my parents didn't want me to get a motorbike at that time. It was just paying the rent or whatever it may be was the more important thing.
Yeah, life gets in the way of us
life
having
gets
fun.
In the way, but at the same time, all those people that we had relationships with and family friends for our whole lives, and still to this day, we'd be at dirt track meetings in Gunnedah and Kempsey, Raymond Terrace. Like, we'd still go to all the meetings and support it, just I wouldn't ride it sort of thing. But so rode it as much as we could, rode bikes whenever we had a chance to, and then at a certain point when I got to the age where I could buy one and fund it myself, I went and did it.
So when was that? What age were you when you...
17.
And what was the next bike? What was the bike of choice?
So 17, and this is where...
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt because it's one of my skills, interrupting. I have very few, but there's one that I'm good at. But so at 17, still at school, or 17 working?
Yeah, a bit of both. So I'll just touch the back of the Ballina thing.
Yep.
Even to the stage of things like distinctive memories. There's a fella, Dean Webster, that I grew up with down there. Like, we were lucky. Like, we had Christmas Day at the motorbike track.
Yep.
Like, just think, like, the memories like that.
Yeah,
it was unreal.
Yeah,
like they're so
cool.
vivid. Like Mick and I going out and riding of an afternoon there with, you know, he's like my dad and whatnot. Yeah, like it becomes so much second nature. We've probably done thousands of hours probably of riding there. So
riding around.
Yeah,
After school,
you know,
on the weekend,
everywhere we could, everything we could. So that was really cool. And then to give that up try, come to Queensland, not know anyone, be a ginger,
which goes to another one of the nicknames that I don't think has been discussed.
Probably not.
Yeah, but okay, sort of ginger and your love of Kawasaki sort of merged in together.
Yeah, I get where this is going. But yeah, you come to Queensland, and especially that day, like in 1993, like there's no filter. You know, I was a New South Wales kid that loved dirt bikes, that knew no one up here that was a ginger. And it was like, man, it was a tough initiation into that first year of schooling up here, and but got the Willie Kahn hat.
Got the Willie Kahn hat.
You know, and this has been, you know, quite vulnerable. Like, not vulnerable, but that's how it was, you know. So, yeah, but that was the childhood thing.
Yeah, as you say, and times are a little bit different as well. It's,
you build a filter, you know.
It's just sticks and stones.
Yeah, that's right. You know, so, and then, you know, so that was the whole childhood thing, was going around dirt tracks, everything like that, until that 17, like you mentioned.
17, and you... you bought a bike.
Yeah, I went and got a credit card, as you do at 17, you know. So went and got into debt. So made a real mistake with that probably. But, hey, you need to figure these things out early.
Yep.
And I did. And I went out and bought I was working. So I just came through on the cusp of school-based traineeships. So my school that I went to, my high school up here, Springwood High,
so real local.
Real local to here. Yeah. So
yeah.
once we moved up here, we moved into lots of houses up here, but we stayed in the same area.
Yeah, how about that?
But we went to Springwood High, just at the top of the hill from up here. They just built a purpose-built workshop, hoist, you know, everything. Like, we had like 30 Briggs and Stratton motors. We had to pull them down, learn how to do timing, learn how to do everything. Like, it was a proper workshop. Rebuild cars, rebuild the teachers' cars, everything, you know.
Yeah.
It was cool. And that was when you got out of grade 10. That was for grade 11 and 12. And I was I think it was the first year, or might have been the second year of doing that. So you'd go there, do maths and English, and then you'd have 2 days of your apprenticeship out somewhere. So mine started...
Also on-site, like coming here and spending a couple of days here or something like that?
A couple of days, yeah.
Yep.
So, and it elevated you when you finished your 2 years of doing your mechanical stuff at school, plus your 2 years of that, you basically jumped into like your second and a half, nearly your third year of your mechanical apprenticeship. It was awesome. And mine was at Logan City Council for the plant fleet services, because I wanted to be a diesel mechanic.
Yep.
So I went out to Logan City Council as a 17-year-old kid and
rebuilt the councillors' cars and...
plant. More plant. So we were like earth moving. So we'd be at the rubbish tip. They had like... a big Tana. Tana is one of the brands of the machines. I've never seen one since, but it was a big compactor. We compacted the rubbish back in the day when they were doing that. So we'd have to go out there and service it, do all the oil analysis, change all the filters, just the basics of that sort of thing there. But then the other things would be like painting trailers and just a proper apprenticeship where you did everything. And I did that for the 2 years of being, and it was paid. It was $4.73 an hour.
How's your memory?
Yeah,
your memory is next level.
weird.
Apart from math, as we discovered very early in this conversation.
It's just nerves. It's just nerves.
Yeah, so $4.73 an hour.
Yeah.
So you're doing 2 days a week.
2 days a week,
hands on.
Yep.
And then the other time at school, but in the school workshop.
That's correct. So you'd have like 2 periods a day where it'd be like a math and English.
Yep.
The rest would be workshop.
Yep.
You know, and it could be the basics of doing textbook stuff, or we'd have like an MTAQ person come out and going through how to run a workshop and just everything, you know. It was awesome. It was the best.
Yep.
It was such a good initiation into it. And then, I finished grade 12. And
so you did year 12. You're quite educated then.
Yeah, I did.
Year 12.
I did year 12, and it was those 2 years were my best year. Like, I actually succeeded through it. I found something I wanted to do.
Doing something you're interested in.
Yeah, so 8, 9, and 10, just wasn't interested. I hadn't found the thing I was looking for. I was probably smarter than the teachers at that point, in my own mind. And I was a bastard, like in ways, like I didn't realise the opportunity that I had.
Mate, young
Everyone
male,
does that.
who would have thought?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And, like we're playing footy, we're doing everything else but want to learn, basically.
I'm just going to, because something just come into my mind, and I'm a bit scatty, but you didn't know what you wanted to do. You hadn't found what you were looking for, but you were a mad rugby fan. Did you ever play rugby and think that was going to be a path?
I
call it rugby.
No.
Was it league?
It's league.
Yep.
But I did play both at the same time for a bit. No, never did it like in that. I thought it would be a job or something. It was fun with my friends.
Yep.
We did all right as a group of friends, but then we got to sort of 15, 16, and everyone went different ways,
Yes.
and different clubs too. And
Yep.
I think you know the story of how that goes with things.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, everyone just went to different clubs, and that core group of people that you have sort of disperse. And we had a team. I think we made a grand final or semi on our last good team together. It was awesome. But then, this club's going to, as you get to that age where you're under 18s and stuff, this club's got a better opportunity to go into opens and stuff like that. Whereas the club that you're playing for, which I played for Springwood for the last bit,
Yep.
we were pretty local. So just didn't have like an opens class at that point as well. So it sort of got a bit disappointing to be honest. But like I did a Med-East tryout in the first Metropolitan East is like a representative thing that takes you to the next level.
Yep.
As a youngest like prop. So I was like 2 years down.
Props the big lump.
The big lump.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was 2 years down to play in those. And I don't know if you know our area, but we've got some pretty big people around this area.
So, look, 50% of our customers are Kiwis, yeah? So there's some genuine big lumps.
Yeah, it was big,
And so you're, at that age, being a big lump against big lumps.
Yeah. It was, and coming from where I played, I was bigger, and then coming to play here, it's like, oh, geez. And I was two grades up in the tryout, not for normal footy or nothing, but just for this tryout. And that was the closest I ever got to thinking, hey, I might be able to do something out of this. But it was always motorbikes.
Yeah.
It was never play a sport like that,
Yeah.
So
we were at the point where you'd started work.
Yep.
Got yourself a credit card.
Yeah.
And thought you'd spend the money wisely.
Yeah.
Buy a motorbike.
No.
No. Oh.
No, buy two.
Buy two motorbikes. Brilliant. Love it. What were the two motorbikes?
So my mate Jono, right, that you've
Yes.
met, the mechanic. So we came through high school together. He was a local mate from up here. We both loved bikes. He was racing go-karts, and he's someone that actually could have raced anywhere, like super talented on a motorcycle or go-karts, right? Yep. But we didn't have money. Like, we got jobs, but I got a good job actually with his dad at Borrell as a like starting my apprenticeship.
Your apprenticeship as a diesel
mechanic.
Fitter? Mechanic?
Yeah,
Yep.
So heavy duty mechanic or whatever. I got a job with his dad doing that. This thing's rattling. I don't know why that's doing it. Maybe it's beer. Anyway.
Maybe you're shaking. You're that nervous.
I could be, eh? Yeah, you're intimidating. But
oh yeah, little old man from Melbourne.
Yeah, I know the story. But yeah, so I went out to there, and like I got the day that schoolies finished. I didn't really go to schoolies because I got sick at schoolies, not from alcohol or nothing. I just got sick. But the day that finished, I went into work, and I wasn't cut out for it. And this is just being brutally honest, and it's something that I want to tell. I've told people all the way along. I was 17, left school, left work in the council for the apprenticeship that had finished up, and working in a pit with adults of a night time, like night shift. It was like 3 in the RV till 3 in the morning or 5 in the morning or whatever it was, and I just wasn't ready for it, and I tossed it in, and never finished my apprenticeship. And it was earning good money. It was good, but mentally I just couldn't handle the adult. I wasn't an adult in an adult's environment.
Mate, I still don't adult to this day, as you know.
Yeah. It's weird though, like that, and that's something that really happened, and I tossed it away.
Yep.
And so I was like basically a third and a bit year apprentice. So you're effectively,
so very close to getting signed off.
Been in it like with the thing through the school base, and then the credits with the RPL. It would have been 3, probably right on 3. So you're a fair chunk in, and I never completed it. So, And then I got...
So I'm sensing you're trying to avoid telling me what sort of bikes you bought.
Yeah,
because
I only bought one, but the dream was I'm going to go get a credit card because I'm 18 now and I'm an adult. And I bought an XR250.
Oh, stop it.
So XR250, I think it was.
Yep.
It was in northern New South Wales. It was when I was living up here. Trading Post, favourite magazine ever. And I was just a mad reader of the Trading Post.
Tell him he's dreaming.
Oh, it's the best, mate. Ferg, I love the Trading Post.
Ergonomic chairs.
Yeah. Jousting sticks. So, Trading Post, and I'm like, oh, wow, like pre-Gumtree, pre-Marketplace.
Yeah.
XR250, 1990. So, this is 2002. So, 1994 model, something around that, white tank. The same thing I've seen in the Ballards magazine for the last 8 years staring at me. And I was like, I got to get this. So, I drove down after work. Didn't have proper cash or anything at that time because it was ATMs. I just don't know how. It was just harder to get money.
Yes.
You know. Yep. So I went down with like a $50 deposit. Slept in my car that night. Went and seen the guy in the morning because I called him up and said, "Hey, can I have a look at the bike? I'm going to be working, or I'll be there." So I slept in the park at Brunswick Heads in my car, and next morning drove out to this like dodgy old place out the back of a place called Billy Nudgel. And seen it and drove home that Arvo and picked Dad up, and Dad and I went down that night and drove it home and got it home, and it had bugger all compression and fixed it up, and It was awesome. It was a great initiation back into bikes after a period of time not ridden a lot, but not owning one.
What sort of riding were you doing on that? Like street riding?
No, I never registered it. Never registered it. Never registered it. Just parks, recreational parks. There's a lot more industrial estate then where you could ride. You know, early 2000s there was down at Yatla, like we could go ride everywhere. You know.
Oh, one of our customers, Petchy, is a local guy, and he tells me like from here out to, you could just jump on your bike and ride the whole way out towards Ipswich and all that sort of business. Where's all highway and freeway and everything now. He said the same sort of thing. You know, they were just on their bikes the whole time. It
was unreal. Like you could just go to industrial estate. There'd be no troubles. Just ride anywhere. Like it was great. So I did that for a while, and then I wanted to go back into racing. I thought I had something to offer.
So to go back to. Mate, if you could just work on your self-confidence a little bit. But to go back to racing means there must have been some income. So you've left the diesel apprenticeship. What were you doing for coin?
Okay, I got a job. So I got a job in, because I had like a really good, and I still feel I do, a good mechanical understanding of things. And obviously it was basically 4 years of working with engines and all sorts of things. And before that, growing up around workshops and that, I had enough nous to go, okay, I understand this. So I got into like an engineering and bearing company, power transmission company, and found my feet in that through a friend, and started in that at like the bottom, basically sleeping floors, and worked on bearings and trying to figure out bearings for cars. Then it moved up into power transmission, then up gradually through my career, which we'll get to probably, but into like conveyor systems and mining power transmission equipment. So, I got a job, and I didn't rely on that funding of plastic car, but it was just funny. I just remember it. I was like, oh, geez. Anyway, we got through that, and and that's where we got to. And I went up to, we had some friends, Ballina friends, that were racing up in Maryborough. Really good flat track up there called Action Park. They got to the north side of Brisbane, and the car, like they had like a Nissan Irvan or something like that, the 80s motorcycle tow vehicle, and it blew a hole in the side of the motor with 3 bikes on the back, like 2 CR500s and a CR250 or something. And at that period of time, Dad had an XR8, a 95 XR8, and Dad doesn't have much respect for like every rule, I guess, in the books. Right? So he's like, oh, that's all right. It's a V8. We'll just tow it. So we towed the trailer, the bikes, the car, and towed it up the freeway up to the next servo, left it sit there and sort itself out. But he gave the shirt off his back. Right? Yep. So he's like, well, you guys got a race tomorrow, so let's go up to Maryborough. So we put the car trailer on and get some beers probably and head up there. And I went back to that race meeting with the 3 bikes and those 3 friends and my dad, and I couldn't turn that tap off again.
Yep.
And I was at the age where I was working and I had to go buy something, and I bought something. So
what was next?
So I've been riding road bikes too. I'm just a little bit trying to get it all figured out, but I'd had road bikes as well
Yep.
for a bit in between. It was all around the same time. I was working heaps, like as you see me do now again. I was working heaps and I was trying to ride and do everything I could, but around the same time, like it's all within a period of months sort of thing. My car got stolen on Christmas Day.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, yeah, from my dad's work. On CCTV, it was in this area where Dad worked, and it was on CCTV. They broke the gate down as they left, and it was an '86 4Runner. Like, I'm not talking about they didn't steal a G-Wagon, you know.
Yeah.
So I was getting a promotion at work at the time with a company car and a lot more money and everything, and I was like, that's it. I'm not buying a car again. So I bought a YZF 750.
Brilliant.
That was my road bike.
Fantastic.
That was the first road bike I bought.
Yep.
This is all around the same period, right? So
you must have been coined, mate, buying a YZF 750.
4,300
at that stage.
Was that right? I was 20.
Nice.
I was 19 years old, so it was good.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know, and it was the insurance for my car.
I say that being jealous of myself at that age. There was no bloody 6-pot calipers, all the business, and a sensational handling bike.
Dream.
Yeah.
It was a dream, and it was a 1993 model YZF 750. It was the insurance money from the car.
Yep.
I was like, well, I'm not going to buy another car if I'm getting a company vehicle. And then, so I went and bought that. And then this race meeting happened, and that's when I bought the CR. And
CR,
which is the one we've got parked out here.
250, the bike that's parked out here.
Yeah, so...
Rightio. You had told me that, but clearly I hadn't put 2 and 2 together there.
So that came away with us to that race meeting in Maryborough, and I knew the people.
Mate, you were the king of the kids. CR 250, YZF 750.
On methanol too.
On methanol. All of that skill and ability bundled into all of this going on, mate, look out. No wonder you got the nickname Factory Mick.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah.
I think it suits better than Willie, just quietly.
Yeah, I get shy on it, but that's how it was. Like it was. So this CR, a mate from Ballina, had it from new 1996, and 96 is the desirable. A lot of people wanted it. Another mate bought it off him, raced it for 1 or 2 years. Then I got it off him, and I bought it, raced it for a bit, but it was the era of the 4-strokes coming through, and it was just, I didn't have the talent, if I'm really honest, to ride it as good as what the modern 4-stroke was. But I got to race it, Maryborough, Kempsey, Ballina,
and with the Ballina crew that you'd grown up with. I
did. It was on the tail end of their time, though.
Yep.
And then the other part too, the Virgin, or actually an unnamed airline, allegedly.
Allegedly.
One of the airlines started to fly planes into Ballina.
Yep.
There's a whole lot of things with dust. Because the airport is right next to the motorcycle track.
Yep.
So when you start flying jets in over prop planes, there's things happen with the motocross track, and there's whole lots of things happen. So when I became a senior, effectively, I didn't never get to race like a national meeting there, or they had King of Summerland, Australian senior dirt track titles twice there, 92 and 2002. And this was 2003, 2004. I just came on the cusp of everyone being in it, but I got to do club days and everything there. And it was awesome. And they were those people. And then obviously Kempsey was another oil track that I got to race. There's a meeting there called a Cobra Classic. Obviously, a Cobra hats. Kempsey was a Cobra town. We got to race that, and it was. I never took it seriously, to be really honest. But I'd pile my dad and my mates in the car.
You can try and tell people you never took it seriously.
Yeah.
I saw you 2 Saturdays ago.
Yep.
There's a serious, mean, competitive fucking side to you. 100%. So tell me again, you didn't take it seriously.
Yeah, well, I didn't maximise the potential.
Yeah.
Probably more than anything.
Yeah.
You know, like we'd go out Saturday night. Like I was 20 years old, or 22 years old or whatever. We'd go out Saturday night. We'd do all sorts of things. Still doing it on a budget. Like we're doing supermoto as well with that bike. So the 250. We didn't have groove tyres. Like everyone bought groove tyres, but they were like $500. So we're sitting there with a shaver, like after a huge night, shaving because the track was wet out at Stanthorpe, and we had fun. Like we just had really good fun with it, and that's what it was. It was just I always found the fun in it. Yeah. How much do you want me to talk about the racing part?
No, I'm very interested in the racing side of things because you've talked it up a little bit of late.
Right.
There's apparently you've won a couple of things. Is that right?
Yeah. Later on.
A little bit later on.
Later on, yeah.
But did the YZF 750, was that a race bike? Or that was still street bike?
It was a street bike. So the first, that Christmas Day when my car got stolen, to go back on that, I got a friend let me borrow a TL1000. I only just had my license. I was 18. I was like, you sure? Or 19. You sure? Yeah, mate, you can have it. And it was Christmas Day, and like, one thing that I feel that I've always been responsible and respectful to people, you know, and I'd never put something of theirs in jeopardy, you know, as well. And he's like, you have it. So I picked up that TL, and that was the first road bike I'd ever ridden on the road, TL1000S.
Nice.
And I was riding it over to my cousin's house for Christmas, and I was in motocross gloves, and I had like what do they call them? Brando jackets or whatever. I had just a leather jacket, and that Dad had at home or something, and riding along up the back of the Hyperdome in the local area, and a wasp went right up me, right in between the motocross glove and that. This is my introduction to road riding. I'm like, what's this all about? This is weird. I don't like this. But then I got addicted to that bike and whatnot. Then I got the YZF after that. I had it for not real long. As you've seen,
there's a story.
As you see, my change bike. So this is 2004.
Yep.
So I bought it in probably about January that year. By May, I was addicted to road bikes more than anything. And I remember coming home from a race meeting with Dad. It was just Dad and I. I think we'd been up to Maryborough in early 2004. And I said to Dad, nothing can beat a CR250. Like the thrill of two-stroke. He goes, you haven't ridden a superbike yet. Like you wait till you ride one, you know. I remember him saying this. I'm like, nah, nothing beats it. So, a few months on, work was going really, really good. Everything was
still with the bearings
and stuff. Yep. Everything was fantastic. Job's good. Earning at the time good. Company car. So I bought a 929 Fireblade. This year, that year.
There's a little bit of taste in your motorcycle purchase. I've got to compliment you on that, Mick. There's some genuine good taste there. Yeah.
So it was called an Irion.
Yes.
180 of them made in the world. I got one of them privately.
Red, white and black?
That's right, to replicate the Gobit Moto America or AMA Superbike win or something. It was pretty cool. So it was an 01 Irion Fireblade, 929, first the fuel injected. Found it in the trading post.
Stop it.
It's like, look at this thing. Went and looked at it, put a deposit on it. Somebody that night from a shop in Queensland bought it out from underneath me on the deposit.
No.
So the person. So I get a call because people knew that I was looking for one of these bikes. It's the bike I wanted. I get a call from said dealership the next day. Oh, we got one of these bikes. Right? I'm like, okay.
But you'd put a deposit on it. Yeah.
So not their fault.
No.
They weren't to know. The person that I called him up that day, like, what's going on? I'd sold it to. I'm like, So I'd spoken to this company and I said, hey, like, I'd put a deposit down on that bike, and that they're a business too. They told me a price, and I'd know what I was about to pay for it, and they were fair.
Yeah.
They said, we didn't know any of this, and I bought it through the shop.
Yep.
It was awesome. It was a great experience. And this was 2004. There's a lot of niceties at that time.
Yep.
You've been in the industry for a long time as well. And it was a nice thing. Like, I was like, wow, thank you so much for honouring. The guy didn't. The private guy never did.
Yep.
So I got this bike, and it was just the best thing May 2004. I just loved it. It had like 11,000 Ks.
Yep.
Yeah, Gianelli pipe. Like, it's just awesome. So I still had the YZF. I was going to sell it. But Dad hadn't had a bike for years and years. Like, it's a long, long time. But he loved my bikes more than I did. But just these things happen. I went to Phillip Island in 2004. I rode the Fireblade to Phillip Island from up here in Queensland with my dad's mates from Ballina, which sucked because it would have been better if Dad was there. But I went with him, and he traded the YZF. Well, he rang me and said, I found a bike. I'm going to trade it. And traded the YZF while I was away. And I was like, all right, Dad, no worries. It was so close with my dad, even to this day. Like, it was just like a flux. You know?
So I'm going to jump back. Get to know Mick. Only child?
Yep.
Mother and father?
Yep.
Real tight, moving around a lot
for
work, and obviously genuinely tight with your father.
Yeah.
So your dad trading your bike in.
It didn't matter.
Just doesn't matter.
No, and I was stoked. Like,
especially as a young guy. I mean, that's pretty cool as a young guy to just go, doesn't matter. Because, most young guys, we don't sort of generally get to start to, I shouldn't generalise, but a lot of, males, we're pretty dumb, right? And we don't start to sort of mature until our sort of mid to late sort of 20s as a general rule. So start to realise that these older people around you are actually human and half decent as well. So, I mean, that's very cool from a young fella to be just going, no stress.
Oh, it was cool. Like, it was like the Saturday at Phillip Island. There's a Kawasaki dealer up the road here, back on the freeway years ago. It was Wales.
Yeah.
It was a ZX12 Kawasaki. I was like, wow, you're going the whole hog. Anyway, bought that, traded it in, like, waited till I got home to do all the stuff. And I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's ride together more and everything.
Yep.
But he was riding the 750 more than I was anyway. Like, I said, you have it. Dad worked, like, there's just not enough hours in the week for the dad to work, So you look after, you do that. And, so that's what he got to.
Yep.
Through 2005 and 6, we went just racing as much as we could, Supermoto, dirt track,
Supermoto, no road at this stage.
No, Supermoto is as close as it got to. Early 2006, my dad had a huge motorbike crash, like as big as it gets. Think of that.
Yep.
I was with him the day that it happened, but I'd left and come to a mate's party about an hour before or 2 hours before. We got to the party and got a call from the police to say, you probably need to get to Lismore.
Yep.
It's like, oh, wow, okay. And in my, I was 20, 22 sort of thing. I was just like, I'm going to get back on my Fireblade and ride as fast as I could to Lismore. But I was with Annie at that time. We've been together for a long time. And she's like, no, you're not being rational now. You're a 22-year-old or whatever. Be smart. Okay, all right. So I went and picked my mum up. We went in the company car I had at the time, and it sucked. Like, it was terrible. He was in hospital for a good part of 2006, basically at that point. This week after I come back up, I had to pick some stuff up. Go back to work and pick some stuff up. And the roundabout where the Audi is over here?
Yes.
I was on my Fireblade, and there's diesel on the roundabout, right? And my mum supported me racing, everything forever. There's no dramas there, but I just knew what we're going to go through at this point. And come around there, just in autopilot, two-wheel drift. This thing's just gone like that, and saved it. But I'd never been so thoughtful about riding motorbikes until that point, probably.
Yep.
It was just sort of second nature at that point. And I remember it was like the Saturday after that happened. I was like, okay, I need, if I'm going to ride these things more and more, and there's not a point that I was turning it down to ride it. I need to always be thinking. And
that roundabout is the world's worst.
Oh yeah, it's horrendous.
Worst roundabout. I mean,
yeah,
it's just a shocker.
And you rode in 2006, like the speed limits probably weren't the same in 2006.
It was different.
So I don't know what was going on. Life was a lot easier. But yeah, I remember it vividly.
No dash cams, no speed cameras.
Man,
just
awesome.
do your thing.
Jeez, it was good. And the police station wasn't even there at that point. But yeah, I literally just came around and there's just thing on the roundabout and I smelled it coming up to it. And like these are things now, after all these years of different experience, that I really look for. Like, if you have that smell, my senses are up, But I just didn't have experience. I had dirt bike experience and stuff.
Mate, 22.
Nothing.
Bulletproof anyway.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was a moment. It's something that sticks with me, like when I get on all the time now. But yeah, Dad's incident played a big part in that. So he got a brain injury. So he didn't have a beer or nothing for 2 years or nothing. But he couldn't drive for a fair while afterwards. But as soon as he did, he's like, I just want to be around you guys, like my mates and everything. So when we went to races, Dad drove. We bought a like a $1,200 Hi-Ace commuter van, and we took all our friends with us. And that was the next whatever amount of years,
That's
probably
pretty cool.
2006 to 2009. And Dad pretty much drove us boys around. So Jono and myself as two main riders. And then we pile all our friends in and we go away for weekend racing.
Very cool.
Dirt track predominantly.
So it's been bikes.
Man. Yeah.
Just always. I mean,
yeah.
Bike tragic. I'm just noticing as we're talking about that. The Mick doing Dixon shirt. I'm rocking rocking. Not that I could ever rock it.
You're rocking.
I'm rocking. I'm in a Dixon shirt too. Which let's not take the piss out of me, but hey, if it's good enough.
It's good enough for these.
I've got a dyno. I qualify.
Yeah, that's right. It's good enough for these fellas, But
it's it's just bikes, full bike tragic.
Yeah, everything was like everything about even work, like it is to do with. I had probably no. Annie and I went to America in 2005. I went with her family. Before that, I had no idea about the world apart from motorbikes.
So, been with Annie since secondary school?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
It is.
Yep. So, committed there, like as in that's it, that's long term, and from a very early age, she sort of kept you on track, do you reckon? Like, because, man, it's easy as a young fella to get distracted by motorcycles and this, that and the other, but not only kept you on track, but then clearly madly supported your insane appetite for buying and selling motorcycles and racing and doing everything you've done there.
And funding it too. Like, we both had jobs, but a lot of it, like at one time, at the height of my, it's probably pretty close again, but the height of my addiction, like I had 9 bikes or something. Sit in the shed. I had, 2 ZX10s, a KX450, a KX520 supermoto bike, my CR, a Thumpster, like just everything, and it was a revolving door too of things. There's a few things that I'd want to stay, but I was working on it to sell them. The only way to fund things is to work and to buy and sell. And, I was buying crash bikes, repairing them, selling them, crash bikes, repair them, ride it for a bit, sell it, like whatever I could do. And for a period of time, I was bringing in jeans from the States, buying and selling jeans.
Everything. I mean, you run, I met you obviously through your photography. You've got quite a few income streams, I guess you would call it. Your tour business. I'm not sure if it's common knowledge you have is it a wire screen fly?
Yeah, I got a fly screen business.
Fly screen business as well. Mate, you're always and with your photography and your video and you're all over the joint. You're all over Australia. Working with different manufacturers and not just motorcycles. It's real estate. You're reasonably hectic.
Yeah, but it's good. Like I don't. This is probably the moving thing. I don't like downtime too much. Like I want to work. I want to race bikes in places. This is the thing with what I've chosen to do now, and it's a choice. Like the video and stuff, to get out and work in the field, like what we're doing now. I had the best job, best boss in the last line of work before I did it. But like, I want to be able to go and work at an event and then ride on the Monday.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that in that structure. I don't know. I don't care about working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, but I need to have the freedoms to ride a motorbike or a push bike. Or it's very selfish, but I don't have kids. We don't have kids. It's what I want to do.
You have a
German Shepherd.
You have a German Shepherd.
Yeah, which just takes a fair bit of time. So, yeah, but that's where we're at.
That's So we'll follow the work.
Yep.
We're a bit all over the joint, but this is
That's
good
all right.
because it's just us
Just talking.
speaking rubbish and getting to know Mick.
Yep.
Who is Mick? What does Mick do? Apart from having a crazy memory
Yep.
for, racetracks, race events,
Yep.
who won what at what race track. As I say, I met you 4 or 5 years ago, and every time I go to an event or something like that, you seem to know everybody
Yep.
in the bike sort of industry and whatnot. And you've got a memory,
Yep.
with your podcast, with the Talk and Chat experience, listening to you interviewing people and not only a list of people that you've had on the podcast,
Yep.
but your conversations with them and the memory of things. I think you caught a few people out by different things saying, well, I was at that event, or you've travelled the world and done
Yep.
been to all sorts of different events. Pikes Peak.
Yep. Yeah. Place is pretty special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've had guests on that are ridden and
Yep.
been very successful at Pikes Peak.
Yeah.
MotoGP circuits, or I'll talk to you about that, and you go, well, at this corner, such and such. I go, how the hell do you know the name of the corners at each one of these? So your memory for I guess where I'm going with this is your memory for everything else apart from bikes. Is it as good?
Yep.
It is.
Yeah.
Rain Man.
I don't know what it is.
Always fly Qantas.
No, flying them. It is so many things. Like I don't know how, I don't know why, but yeah, like I can, we have an event or something from school or something, like catch up with someone, like name the people in the room. It's weird. Yeah. But it's handy.
Yeah, bloody impressive.
Yeah, it's handy sometimes.
Yeah. It's handy for a little old man like me. If I go, oh, Mick, what was that again?
It's handy. And it's good for this.
Yeah.
For a podcast or something, it does make it pretty easy.
I can think of a couple of the people that you've had on, and you've said, oh, well, I was at that event and I remember when this and this happened, and you see them just looking and go, you what?
Yeah. I had a few people say afterwards, funnily enough, like, man, how'd you do that? I'm like, did you look at? I'm like, no, I don't know. Like, and it generally, I said to Keely in here, a lot. I just read too.
Yep.
Just read magazine. I read motorcycle news. I read revs. Even before the ones before I was born. For some reason, I just enjoyed reading those and really passionate about. I've still got all the books, and they're like Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yep.
For motorcycles.
Yeah.
So much info in those, and same to this day. Like, you're the same. You still get the magazines.
Oh,
you still read the magazines.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm the same. I've got
I don't have a memory like yours, eh?
But you read them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to the work. So we're working at the bearing shop, bearing industry.
Yes.
Travelling.
Not so much. A lot of fixed.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of fixed at that time. A lot of in-store stuff. Learning an industry.
Yep.
And I spent my probably the mid 20s probably learning. 26, 27, learning that. Did master it, but did well. And same deal. Like you've met a couple of my old bosses actually through here and stuff, and always worked hard for people.
Yep. You did a track day with one of your old bosses recently, who's obviously still a good mate.
Still a mate. And that's how they've... I could just about... There's only one boss that I probably want to chuck off a set of stairs to this day.
Have you explained that to him?
Oh, mate.
Would you like to explain it to him?
We did.
Do you want to call him out?
We did.
You did throw him down the stairs?
No,
you explained it to him.
we did. And, it was just
It's impossible to get along with everybody, and if you are getting along with everybody, you're full of it.
Yeah,
So,
it's a funny one actually. My direct boss in that environment, I was speaking to him last Friday week before last, and I said, "How bad was that time?" You know, because it was his chain of command up from a company from Texas I was working for at the time. He was. You know how American companies have Singapore as a hub?
Yes.
So he was flying Singapore. So Singapore, Brisbane every week to micromanage. Every week, right? And we've been in this company that went from like $1 million a year to like $100 million really quickly.
Yep.
Doing generators and power transmission equipment for oil and gas, and just insane, right? This is 2014, 13, 14, somewhere around that era, and we had it dialed. Like everything was really.
So, what
good.
was your role with them? What
Generator program. So, because I had a mechanical sort of background, and generators obviously a mechanical electrical thing, and I'd worked in electric motors. About 2008, I switched from mechanical over to electric motors. I got involved in drive head solutions and generator program, trying to develop a generator, which was basically a Chev motor, 5.7, 5.9 sort of Chev sort of motor, with a basically a gen pack on the back, and develop all the fuel system and everything for it with an engineering team. But I had to sort of try and figure out how to make it all work.
Yep.
So, but then we got some interference, and the company just went pear shaped. It sucked.
Really?
Yeah, it sucked because it was really good crew. But this one particular guy, I've never in a workplace got so. This guy, like I'm a ginger, right?
Mick,
I'll
I just
say
want to
it.
bring somebody into the room. Mick, it's your old boss.
I'll tell you, like, and everyone's the same, and to the point, you know, BG, which is British Gas, he got banned from their offices.
Yeah.
This guy just ticked everyone off, and like British Gas.
That's a skill until itself, though, being able to piss everybody off.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's a good skill.
Yeah, well, have you done it? But he's an interesting character, and to this day, I've never had a differing of opinion so much where I just couldn't figure it out to that point.
Yes,
with that guy, and some of those days though, mate.
That sounds interesting though.
It was,
electrical generator solutions for mining and
correct.
And that.
No, it was awesome, and the good thing was it was like emerging tech, and as you know, like I love technology.
Yes,
I love mechanical technology, and to be able to be part of that program and work on that and try and get just efficiency out of things. And this is one thing, and this is probably a bit controversial probably to say, but like I worked for a company called ABB at the time, 146,000 employees globally, biggest, them and Siemens, two biggest sort of electrical mechanical companies in the world. Like, to see where we go with EV vehicles and stuff, it's so misunderstood to this point. And like working for them and seeing the efficiencies that we put in place and the efficiencies that companies like that were working to, and then still seeing stipulations being put through around places, you're like, we could learn so much, or we could put so much more out, or we could do so much more.
Yep.
So yeah.
Why don't we do so much more?
Is it easier to just put something in place and say, I don't know, I don't know, but
It might have something to do with the votes and
and
not getting them.
Because you look at this country, right? So we have like at that time IE3, International Efficiency Rating 3 was what we were on. You put 10 mil of water into something, you want to be getting 8 to 9 out. If you don't get that out, it's not efficient.
Yep.
But if you're in another part of the world that manufactures the machinery, so they know how to do it, they're putting 10 mil of water in and getting 4 or 5 drops out. That's the ones that you should be picking the fruit off, because they're making the bad machines.
Yes.
Us here, we can always do better, but there is, at the same time, we really try things, and we're such a small nation. we don't really do much. Not we don't really do much, but we could do so much more here better. But I guess as a country, we're trying to lead by paths and examples as well. So I don't want to touch on that too much.
No, but it's interesting. No,
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of, as you say, we're large landmass, small population. We're more than holding our own as far as that's concerned. Could do more with engineering, manufacturing, all that sort of business. But then the other side of it is, are we really that bad as far as greenhouse is concerned? And
it's a minefield. There's no correct answer.
No, but we all know that every decision that's been made is all about getting votes.
Yes,
it's not about actual efficiency. It's not about the facts.
No,
it's just not. Which is, I think, where you were kind of going with that.
It is, and you know, I love to see the world employ the efficiency standards that we carry here.
Yes,
that's probably the big thing. If you can do that, then.
But it's easy for us though because we're rich Westerners, and so it's easy for us.
There's a whole different cut. but no, I don't know where we got to from that. But if the world adapted to how good we do things here, then we could always do things better, and everyone can, the world would be a much better place.
Yeah,
that's probably the message.
Yeah, there's a song.
I think John Lennon.
Yeah.
Do you want the lyrics? But I don't know where we got to from that. But
no, it's good. But so we're working essentially engineering.
Yeah.
And then you've left there.
Yeah.
What was the next job from there?
So that was to a Japanese engineering power transmission company. So same sort of deal, power systems, power transmission. So like conveyor systems for breweries, chain drives, working out how much horsepower it takes to basically move a bottle.
Yep.
Or move a piece of coal on a bad day these days.
Yeah.
Not allowed to move coal anymore. But that sort of thing, like reclaimer chains for big mining equipment. Right down to chain systems for say sugarcane. The trucks with the sugarcane bins.
Yeah.
How do you propel the sugarcane bin back onto the bed?
Yep.
How much motor output? How much torque's required? What chains are required? Everything that goes along with doing that. So
the Rainman memory
helps.
Clearly came in handy with those roles
and math.
Mate, you will never convince me after the start of this little chat.
And math, and this is
as long as it doesn't involve calendars.
I don't worry about calendars, but and math though, that was a huge part. Well, that was every part to it was math.
Yeah. So this role is just the role that did you do a fair bit of travel and
all those roles from about 2009. Probably.
Yep.
To 2016, I did lots of travel for work. I basically not mastered. You never master anything, but I got to a point where I knew everything.
It was second nature.
It's second nature.
Yep.
So I did lots of travel. Like worked up in New Guinea.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was an eye opener. So I got to work up in New Guinea a few times. Like all those sorts of experiences. Got to work down in Morwell, down at the Carter Holt Harvey and the timber mills. Got to work down like every timber mill in Australia. I've pretty much worked in high consumers of power transmission.
Yep. So,
and highly over time inefficient because those old mills are just the way they were. Like it's like old shipbuilding yards and stuff.
Yep.
There's just the process, but. Because they're large consumers of power, large consumers of mechanical industry, there was initiatives put in place to try and make them more efficient and make them more green effectively.
Yep.
And that was part of sort of some of the roles. So more efficient chains, more efficient motors and everything that go with it, gearboxes.
Yep.
I got to work in nearly every business in Australia that was like a high consumer of power or high consumer of mechanical drive systems. I got to work in, whether it be sulfur plants, mine sites, and timber mills, sugar mills, everything. It's cool. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Different to now.
So you also touched on a little bit of travel overseas, holidaying.
Yep.
Would appear that you're pretty handy at that. or not so much as far as
not so much now.
Not so much now, but historically, you know, pretty handy at that. Quite a few trips. States seems to be the clear leader in getting your attention.
Well, Willie disappeared in the early 2010s. Well, not Willie disappeared, but the nickname Willie disappeared, and I got Captain America for a while by a couple of mates.
Good.
Because I loved America.
Yeah.
At my late 20s.
So
it was me
traveling to America with Annie.
Yep.
Family, mates.
Family.
Yep.
You know, Annie's family.
Yep.
A couple of friends. Motorbikes. Friends over there. So we went over in 2005 the first time. I went over with her family. They were in the travel industry originally. They looked after me with some flights to go. I was like, oh, wow. And quite literally, Ferg, like, for me, it was Maryborough is a cool trip because there's a racetrack.
Yep.
There's Kempsey's a cool place because there's a racetrack. And then, you know, Phillip Island. Like, what else do you need? Like, what else do you need? We've got barbecues.
I don't know about the other places, but Phillip Island, you've got me.
Yeah, we got barbecues. Like, what culture do I need?
Yep.
I was blind to it, right? Got to the States the first morning. We went for her 21st, right? Got there, stayed just around near the airport in Los Angeles, at Marina Del Rey, where all the bike shops are, which is a good place to take me for the first day. And, woke up. All right, see you later, going out. Have a bit of a wander. And, blind to the world. There's a push bike wheel chained to the thing with no push bike in it. I got a photo of it still. And it's just like, wow, this is what traveling's all about, you know, and it was awesome. And then we didn't travel for a bit. And then I think it was about 2011. I think it was 2011 actually. One of the companies I worked for put me on a thing called gardening leave. And I couldn't talk to any of my... I got marched out the door that day. Couldn't talk to any of my workmates. Couldn't say goodbye. And I wasn't allowed at my new workplace for 6 weeks or something. And just previously before, we had some friends get married. An Australian friend got married to someone from Minnesota. Their wedding party came down and, you know, we become really good friends with them and went mountain biking and did all the stuff with them. So I rang them up. Said, hey, I want to come over. And they're like, when? I'm like, probably tomorrow. Like, I'm pretty irrational with some things too. Like, if something's, you might call it manic, you know? Like, if something's like, hey, right, let's do it, I'm on, like, do you want to race a class? Let's do it, you know? So let's make it happen. So got on the plane and that was the start of it again. The travel bug hit. Went up 3 times in 12, 14 weeks to the States. And it was all because of moto. I went riding motorbikes on the sand dunes. They had, like, trucks, like Chev Silverados, big suspension, all the stuff, jumping. It was like being in the Crusty Demons.
Full American spec.
Full American spec. Yeah. And I was working hard. I was earning good money. I wasn't allowed to talk to my to my friends from work. I'm like, well, I'm going to shove it basically up all your asses. I'm going to America. You can't even contact me now. Yep. And that's what I did for the first one. And really fell in love with it again. And that's where we basically chose to holiday. And they become, you know, really, really close friends, especially in that period of time.
Yep.
And, you know, so we were back up for MotoGP that year at Laguna Seca, one of the last ones. Supercross over there, motocross, World Superbike there, NASCAR, Indianapolis.
Stop.
Everything. Yeah. Like everything you could dream of. I didn't want to leave a stone unturned.
Yeah, well done.
So we tried to do that. And, you know, Philly cheesesteaks, certain places are right. You know what I mean, though. Like everything you want to do. Yeah. Museums like Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama. You know, the place is 6 stories tall with motorcyclists active. Like, there's no better place.
Yep.
If you're into, like, us as humans, why would you want to travel anywhere else?
Well, you know, I mean, as you say, motorsport, sporting events.
Yeah. Everything.
Just huge.
So that was a good period of time, like 2011 to 11, 12, 13, 14. The last trip we did was 16 over there. And haven't been back since June 2016.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah. Sucks.
It'll come now. Won't be too long.
Yeah, it won't be too long. So, yeah. So that's where we're at. We did that.
So we're working with all of the sawmills
Yep.
and the mines and the engineering.
Yep.
And now we're not.
Yeah. Yep.
What was the next step?
So, last trip to the States, I came home probably about June 2016. That was the last trip we did. So, like, used to traveling. I was traveling, flying every week for work. Awesome job, paid well, company car, everything that I ever wanted. Riding dirt bikes with my boss. You know, it was good. Went up to a mining expo up in Mackay, late July 2016, and flew home that day. And something happened. We went out and had a huge night Thursday night. That probably didn't help things. But I was sitting at the airport the the next morning. I guess it's Friday, and I was just like, I don't know about this anymore. I don't like the flying. Still don't like the flying too much. And I never had trouble with flying, but something happened. So I flew home that night. And then, something clicked in me on that day. It was my dad's 60th birthday too. So I don't know what it was, but I was restless for the rest of the year, like incredibly restless. Never in my life did I not want to put my boots on to go to work, unless it was to go riding, but every day from late July to the end of the year, I just didn't want to be there. And I don't know what it was, but I had a good job. I had everything that you could have wanted. Home was good, awesome dog. You know what I mean? Everything's good. Yeah. Brand new Fireblade, dirt bikes, all the stuff in the world.
Yep.
Didn't help the feeling that I was having. And I don't know if it's a mental health thing, but it has to be a bit. I literally don't know to this day. I've been to a psychologist about it.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've had hypnotherapy about some of the things of travel. I had a few things like that. And it's not travel, it's just certain things, right? It's control, I think, a bit. So I changed. And I dreamed of doing what I'm doing now a bit. And I'd seen people, like for years, like at that time I'd been in that industry for 15 odd years, and I'd seen people just get real stale in it. And I don't know, like it's 2016, 32, 33, around that age. I didn't want to do that either. I'd been thinking about probably changing careers for a long time. But if I say I'm doing something, I'm usually the person that's going to do it. I thought, let's try this. So I looked at doing like a photography sort of style course and looked further into it. And at that time, I was probably spending more time looking at extra opportunities than what I was even focused on the job that I was doing, and which was disrespectful to that job. But I was upfront too. Like I was like, something's wrong, That's why like that guy is still one of my best friends. Yep. And it sucked because I went to uni and did video production straight after.
The video production.
Yep.
Had that been something that
to not the degree that I'm in now.
Yeah. That had it been an interest?
Photography had.
Yeah.
Yeah, photography definitely had.
Yep.
Photography and filming had.
Yep.
But not to the, like it's nearly taken over. Well, it has taken over motorcycling a lot now. I'm combining the both a lot.
Yep.
But like it just all of a sudden, and I'm like that. If I'm into it, I'm real in. But I finished up work on the late January 2017. After my notice period of a couple of months or whatever, and went straight into uni the first week of February as a 30-something-year-old adult student in Byron Bay.
In Byron Bay?
Yep. After being around, working in New Guinea, Mount Isa, North Queensland, everything for the last 15 years.
I'm going to do a gross generalisation here.
You're going to be good with this one.
Byron Bay.
Yep.
Arts.
Yep.
Video photography.
Yep.
Mate, that's a genuine 180 degrees away from where you were.
Yeah.
How did you fit in there?
I didn't. Yeah. And even my views. Like, I was working in mining a week before.
Yep.
Now education systems are incredibly... the term that everyone's throwing now is left wing, right?
Yep.
But it really is. Like, every documentary that you went to make or whatever would be about the same things. You couldn't... Being in a creative uni, this is going to probably get people in trouble or undesirable with it, but being in a creative uni is about expressing yourself. But it's very hard to express yourself when your peer group doesn't have the same traits or beliefs, or not even that, can't find middle ground in it. Middle ground's what we're all chasing.
Unwilling to accept that there might be
something else.
Yep.
You know? So I did it for 3. I did it. Like, I made it. I did the whole degree. It was awesome. Like, I've learned so much stuff, but it's just so different. Like, literally, the week before my last job with that company, I was on the Gladstone Ports Corporation. I was up on one of the ship loaders, and we're doing a cable installation for the cabling for the ship loader going in and out. And that cable system was loading coal on the boats to head overseas,
yes.
right? So I'm up there working, with coal, like the most hated thing in Australia or in the world at the moment. But
except for financially.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go green. Let's go green.
So,
just shut up and fucking send that over there, will you?
So I'm like, and then the next week I'm on Ewingstale Road in Byron Bay. We're in this classroom. Like, the first morning, there's an artist called Tash Sultana, and I love her music. She does like this loop music, like loops and stuff. Plays an awesome guitar, and she's still to this day one of my favourite artists. And I remember walking in the door and this is the memory thing, but walking in the door that morning, and here like everyone's just congregating around on beanbags and stuff in this theatre, just watching this artist on TV, and I'm like, okay, what have I got myself into here? Did a couple of hours of work there, like tutors, lectures, and all that sort of stuff. Then they all just went on beanbags. Not all. Generalization, but a lot of people just went and sat on beanbags for like a couple of hours. So different.
Yeah.
Rewarding. Probably what I was looking for at the time, to be honest. And I found it. Good experiences. Interesting.
So the education system, as you say, is very skewed to, a certain way of thinking, a certain way of doing things. So being somebody that's come from the workforce where it's let's get on, let's get this happening, let's go.
Yeah.
Was it one side of it? Forget the opinion side, or which way we look at things or whatever. But the actual let's go, let's get through this. How did you cope with being? Oh man, let's not rush. Assuming that happened.
It was weird, and that definitely happened. It was not till that point that I realised the age difference too. And I didn't take it in. Like, I try and be, like the word now, emotionally intelligent, try and think of people's feelings and everything. But there's such an age gap between a lot of the students were straight out of school. That February 1 intake, the day that I went there, that was their first day out of school. It was like me going back to that apprenticeship. I wasn't ready for that at that time. Are they ready for it as well? So I'd learnt that. I feel I'd learnt that through all those experiences. But they just, I was there to change careers, and I had a house, I had like a lot of regos, had a lot of insurances.
I'm quite sure if I asked you, you could remember the registration number of every bike you actually had at that stage as well.
I did. But like, we had a lot of regos, we had a house, we were living in Brisbane, I was commuting to Byron 3 times a week.
So commuting?
Yep. Yeah, so commuting.
That was good for the environment. How'd they cope with that? Unless you did it in an EV.
Some things are fine though.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Yeah. So I was commuting for the first 8 months of it, 9 months. And then I thought and this is probably the plan too. I thought I'd be able to Uber and earn good money in Queensland while I wasn't doing that, but like the money wasn't as good as what it would be, and I had poor Annie was working lots.
Yep.
I was commuting either back and forth or staying in the car in Byron in the car park or in a caravan park or whatever. So we ended up moving back in with my family, and we moved back to my family living in northern New South Wales again at that point. So, and that's where we spent the next sort of the last 3 years.
Okay.
So we made the decision. We rent our house out, and that was a huge decision to make. And then she commuted to Brisbane for work. She did the Saturday, Sunday down there, or if we're away somewhere. If not, she'd commute to work and work in Brisbane for Monday to Friday and stay up here for the week. And yeah, it was a huge commitment by both of us, but it was a huge commitment by her to do that.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah,
very supportive.
Yeah, it was full on.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
How long until going, back to uni, just became normal? Because I guess if you go back to leaving secondary school, starting your apprenticeship and going, I ain't cut out for adulting, right? So we're kind of doing the reverse now, right? In a weird way, only because of who you're surrounded by, not for what you're trying to achieve, because you're trying to learn and be educated. So from that point of view, but who you're surrounded by, and one of the sayings is you become who you surround yourself with. So at what point or how did it become normal? I guess when did it become normal?
Probably after the first 11 grand.
Good answer.
After the first trimester.
Yeah.
So first trimester, I struggled.
Yeah.
I struggled. I come from being a boss.
Yep.
Being a manager, being a, wasn't like the manager. There's people always above, but I was autonomous. I was working for myself. I was doing the things, to being in that environment where essays, word counts, creative writing, everything. The first period of time, she did most of it for me.
Yeah.
Like I'd write the basics of it out, and then Annie would write, the structures. I wasn't a good student. Then something sort of, I wanted to do it, and if you want to do something, you've got to commit. I wanted to do it, and I committed, and but at the same time, a lot of people around me weren't committed. So that intake I told you about on that first week of February, we had 28 students. By the time I finished that place, there was only me and Elsa, another student left, out of that first intake.
How about that? Yeah.
That was it. So everyone's falling like flies.
Yep.
So and this is the thing that frustrates me to this day, and I spoke to someone about it on the weekend, was like you don't go there probably so much for the education. You might get a bit of education, but nowadays with things like YouTube or online study and everything, you can get a lot of stuff, or hard skills, but the network of people. But when it's such a transient culture within design, within the creative world, you miss out. Like a lot of those people, especially in that area, like with international students or, the first year out of school, they pulled out.
Yep.
Like I did at my apprenticeship.
Yep.
So I don't have that big group of creative people to bounce off.
Yep.
It's one of the biggest regrets of the whole thing.
And I guess the big group of creative people as well, once you finished,
you
started working for yourself directly? Didn't work for anybody else, or?
No, so so I had M33 photography open up before that.
Yep.
So before I went in, like the last probably year of working in the engineering field, I had the photography business. I wasn't doing any major gigs or anything, but it was a hobby, and I've been lucky with opportunities, I guess. But I did like Rugby World Cup, like the Samoan team for their jersey presentation.
Yep.
No idea how, just a relationship, network, and it worked out. So I had that started, and then M33 production. I had morphed into productions from photography. which you would have seen my email change over time.
Yes.
Because photography was just that facet of that business. So productions incorporated, audio, visual, sound, everything in there. So I had that going, and then I had to basically build that up. And it was start that. I tried to work with, if you look at, say, the Gold Coast has got a fantastic creative hub. Mate, I tried so much to try and fit in or try and get a job there. I tried through my uni. I tried personally. I tried every avenue, but the door was shut everywhere. Unless you grew up in a clique or something, I just couldn't get in. It was really difficult, and it sucked. So I just I'm going to push for, and this is my own being as well. This is who I feel I am. Stuff this, I'm just going to do my own, and just, if I can do anything to try and, I had a young guy come and help us at Dust Hustle Film. Just open the door up to that next person coming through. Here's food, drinks, water. Be welcome.
Yep.
Like you guys do for me here, but that's the biggest thing I found, where it's everything's so closed door because you're worried about someone taking your thing. Just do a good job, build the relationships up, and it'll be fine. And I don't know if that was the reason, or I'm just, people don't like me all of a sudden, which could be that. But mate, it was hard to find work between Brisbane, Gold Coast, Byron. But here we are,
I guess especially coming into that field
as a newbie,
as
an
adult.
Yeah.
New, as you say, not from an earlier age with a network.
Yeah.
People are just,
Yeah, and who is it? Who's this guy? I'm as 38 now. I'm 18 years above the best range of people that are making videos now.
Yep.
I look at one of my friend's daughters in grade 9. Basically did the same course as I've just paid $71,000 for in grade 9.
Yep.
She can make the same things I can make at grade 9. So you can imagine what a 20-year-old coming through now, how good they are. Why would they look at me to get a job?
Oh, they're born into it. I mean, I've just watched the last podcast that you released.
Lachlan Ephes, yep.
Yep. He's 22, I think he said in that.
Yeah.
And born into social media, born into computers. I'm considerably older than you, and a long way away from,
And you still need a bit of tech help.
I'm a proud Luddite, as you know, but just born into it.
Yep.
Working with it. So if someone's new to it and trying to employ somebody, they just go, "Here's this kid," as opposed to when you finished your degree, 33. Mid-30s.
Pushed late over that, and so it's been really difficult to try and grow that, but we have been very diverse in what we've done, but we have, and now it's just get those right people around you, and say Max that we had the other week, it's mate, you're working with, we had Emma McFerrin, Nitro Circus person. We're going to have just try and make them feel comfortable. So it's easy for them to, he's 18 or 19, first or second year film. Just to make it easy for them, because they're going to be smarter than me, no doubt. But come and work with me. I can build relationships. I can do that. Let's grow this thing together, or whoever we can do that with. But I just don't find people that close doors. I don't like cliques.
Yep. Yeah. Oh.
Yep. Does my head in.
Totally get it.
So and that's where
especially when you're not that way inclined. As you say, potentially control freak. Yes.
Yeah. But here's the wheel.
But let's go.
Yeah.
I'm happy to share it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of it. So yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, to come from, as you say, diesel mechanic fitter,
Yeah.
sure what they describe them, through to the engineering, coal mines, saws. Byron, that would have been an absolute classic. I
was.
They should have filmed you going through the first week at I was about to say school, uni.
Well, it was like school, though.
Yeah, and they could have made a documentary on that.
Oh, they really could have. But I think I adapted well. Like, I tried to. Like, I put my effort in.
Yep.
Because it was costing a lot.
Yep.
There's no free ride. Yeah, so it was costing a lot, so I had to commit. And, yeah, for the first week, it was funny, though.
So one of the reasons, as we said at the start, one of the reasons who is Mick and,
Yep.
you know, what does Mick do is obviously the podcast.
Yeah.
You know, it's going well. It's some of the guests.
Yeah.
It's a who's who. I mean, especially in the motorsport side. I know that you've said that it doesn't have to be motorsport. I know it's not. There's, you know, you've had people from adult entertainment and, you know, some ridiculously successful business people, world champion motorsport people, you know, rugby league, Corey, all sorts of different guests. What's, you know, that's one part of your business. It's not, you know, it's not who is Mick, but that's what led people to say to me, oh, what else does Mick do? And get asked, and, you know, we spoke about it. Is there plans? What are your plans? What are your goals with the podcast? And then I guess what are the goals with the rest of M33 Productions?
Say business side, I'm happy. Like, it genuinely, like, I'm pretty simple, really. I like to holiday on things. Like, if we can work holiday or whatever, that's the main thing, and be comfortable to do things. So it's just to enjoy the experiences. That's to be really honest. It's to have my business succeed, but to enjoy the experiences. Like, the people and the things I get to work with are things that I love.
Yep.
Like, I'm so lucky. Sometimes you film something and you know the old saying, you got your ass hanging out. Okay, dust hustle day was a perfect day, right? Yeah. But you're sitting there, you're like, this is a pretty cool thing. Like, that kid that was working in a pit on a truck would never think that this would be a job.
Yep.
So just continue to grow that. More of those opportunities, more of those things. There's more things with the podcast I want to do. I want to grow it further into... It is the Talk and Chatter experience. I thought of Talk and Chatter. You thought of experience, right? That's true.
Yep.
The experience originally, like when we... It's really funny, actually. I don't write too much. I'm a terrible writer, like as in written.
Yep.
I can write, but it's not great. So my A4 notebooks from everywhere, from school all the way through, are pretty empty. So I can use the same one for a bit. Anyway, I had to write some notes in a meeting a couple of weeks ago. I looked back and it had my notes from when I'd first spoke to you about this.
Yep.
And, you know, 2 and a bit years on, it's exactly how I wanted it. Yep. You know, all the things. Be respectful. Have something that people can listen to in their car with their family. You know, there's a big group of notes. So I want to continue on that tact, but I want to try and get outdoors more. We originally would taken people for rides on the Harleys. That's a cool thing. It's cool in the first year of COVID because people had more time.
Yep.
As the world's gone on, it's been harder. But to do more of that sort of outdoor stuff, like I don't want to probably get into the one particular thing that I'm working on at the moment.
Yep.
But yeah, working on something like that and more seeing how good motorcycling is in the community and trying to build it, because there's a few things I really love. Motorcycling is right at the top of the top of the pops. I want more people to see motorcycles and how good they are. They get portrayed in a funny light to people sometimes, and they shouldn't, because they're bloody awesome.
Yeah.
They really are. You know, like I've seen the worst of the worst with the thing that happened to my dad, but he still rides. You know. So yeah, that's some of the things that I want to try and do, and I want to try. I'd like to, you know, we haven't touched on road racing, but I'd like to try and get back. Maybe I've got a track bike. I'd like to maybe try and get back into maybe a bit of racing, but that all depends on work too.
How there's no reason why you can't combine them.
Yeah, true.
How many bikes do you currently own?
So I've got a Husqvarna. I got my because I'm selling them all. Just putting the asterisks out there. Husqvarna. I got my KTM.
So now's the point where you've got all of your professional photography in the video for the podcast with for sale, contact Mick on.
Pretty much. Yeah. There's a digital ad coming. So yeah, Husqvarna, KTM. I've got my CR. I've got my G6R1000 track bike, ZX10. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think I've got anything else hidden here.
No.
Pretty fortunate I've got a storage facility because my home is not another big place.
It's a good mix of bikes.
Yeah, it does everything. Like I've got a ZX10. So how are we going for time?
Mate, I haven't even checked. Oh shit! Look at that, it's 6 o'clock. We've been going for a fair while. The ZX10.
Because everything I've got comes with a story just about.
Go. You do the story. I'll just get us a beverage.
All right, cool. So in the ZX10, so I lived in 30-something houses. But along with that, I had, 60, 70 bikes across the time, So I'd never hold on to things too long, apart from a couple. The CR's one. So the CR, I bought it in 2003, 2004, around that era that I said about when we started racing again. So I got that. I sold that to my friend Mick. So that's that CR that's out here.
Yep, okay.
Sold it to him, and about a week later, it did a big end. Oh, right. It's like, oh no. And I'm not I'm, like I said, respectful, loyal. If you're going to say traits, they're the things that I want to be,
Yep.
Like, oh man, I'm so sorry. He's my mate from 1 year old, So he blew it up. It must have been his fuel mix. It couldn't have been something I did.
Clearly.
But so it sat for a bit. He got it rebuilt, and then he didn't ride it for very much. Maybe a couple of tanks of fuel. So I bought that back. Sat in my shed. Sat in Josh Farrell's shed with Ride Design Co. Josh. Yep. Sat in my other mate Jono's shed. We gradually rebuilt it over 5 years, and that's to a point now that won't sell. I'll ride it, but I won't sell it. So that's love it. ZX10s. I had one when I was like 23 or something. There's this second bike after the Fireblade, I think. After that, or third bike after that Fireblade that I had, the Aerion. It was cool. It was an I think it might have been Shannon Johnson engine, okay. ZX10, 04 yep. ZX10. And mad thing, 185 horsepower, 170 something
so
kilos.
Nearly enough.
Yeah, it was madness, awesome bike. And got stolen Easter. I had vehicle stolen. I've had a shot around with things. Yeah. And it got stolen Easter Saturday on a test ride.
Mate, there's a theme between
yep.
you, religious holidays, and your vehicles being stolen.
Yeah, Christmas Day and Easter Saturday. So the second one was on a test ride. So I had, I bought an R1 that, had I raced it? No, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I'd raced this R1, okay? So Queensland Road Race Championships, and I'd rode it off. So I was going to put it back on the road. So I bought the Chinese fairings and everything. And I thought, I'll use this as because it was a fire breather. It was a cool, first of the Big Bang R1s. But I'm going to sell my ZX10. It's time to sell that ZX10, and it's got heaps of Ks on it. They have, the radiators were starting to break out. Just starting to fatigue. Guy rocks up in footy shorts, Saturday afternoon. Just a dude. I was riding, I know when we've spoken, you've said to me about when you're riding all the time, how things are really easy.
Yep.
I was riding all the time. Dirt bikes, mini bikes, push bike. Good. Okay. And he rocked up, thongs and footy shorts. We'll just go for a test ride together. No dramas. So in the state that I was living at that time, rock out on the road together. I was on the R1, he was on the ZX10. I thought, I'll be able to keep up with him. I'm in shoes and everything anyway. And he rocked out and bang, opened up the taps. And where I was living at the time was off one of the main roads around here, and went over this bridge, and I seen 109 on my speedo, I think it was, or 109, sorry, allegedly. And he bolted past that. Big Bang R1. You know the sound of those.
Yeah, oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Awesome bike. Had twin Yoshi pipes up under the seat. There's a motorcycle officer coming the other way. I picked both hands off the bars. I'm like, stop. Didn't look. First time ever, I reckon.
When you want them. Mate, I'm doing 190. I'm a bad guy. Come around, let's have a chat.
So that was gone. And I'm like, this is Easter Saturday. I'm like, oh, geez, that's a bummer. So, yeah, that happened. It went through cameras with my plates on. Went through, like, I reported that night. 100 and something k's an hour. It got caught on one of the bridges on the highway. And then about 3 months later, after I'd been paid my insurance, they found it in Deception Bay in a house.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was gone. But ever since then, I went looking for a 04 ZX10 because I really loved the bike, even though I was selling it. And, found another one. Just after I did my shoulder last time again, flew to Canberra in the sling and rode that home.
Brilliant.
That was cool. So that's another bike.
I mean, it is a noted touring bike, really.
Oh, yeah. Especially when you, like, it was
with
funny.
a busted up shoulder.
It was funny when I remember you called me up. I was in Oberon. You're like, what are you doing? Because we're that sort of mate that we run pretty much every purchase through each other, you know? And I spoke to you earlier in the week and you're like, oh, that looks like a pretty good thing, you know? Especially at that time, COVID time and that, price-wise. And what are you doing? I'm like, I'm in Oberon on the way near Bathurst on the way back. It's like, oh, that's awesome. So yeah, I rode it home and love it. I've only done a couple of thousand Ks on it since that time, but there's two bikes in the stable that will stay.
Good.
And it's the CR and that.
Yeah, good.
Because of that younger kid fun that I had on them. If I could find an Irion blade that's in good nick, 929, that would be another one. Same deal.
I was at Honda when they were released.
Oh, yeah? 01.
Yeah.
They were beautiful.
Oh.
The actual bike, take away the decals and stuff on them, the Irion was just a sweet package to ride.
Yeah.
So I put 45,000 Ks on it in the first 6 or 7 months.
Brilliant.
Just rode. Like, you know, in that age where you ride every night, you just ride somewhere. That's what it was.
Just go somewhere. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to do a Who's Mick.
No worries.
I think we've just touched on it. There's a fair bit more. I haven't used half the, or haven't even used 10% of the stuff that Annie gave me to sort of hit you up about.
Wow.
We might do that next time for Who's Mick Part 2.
Because we literally haven't spoken about road race or
we've got to let's do road race.
Why?
Because I really want you to put your chest out and tell me about what championship did you win and
oh jeez.
Because we speak crap about motorbikes and riding motorbikes all the time, you know. There's a little bit of banter going on about upcoming track days and et cetera, et cetera. So you're an awarded motorcycle rider. Yeah,
well, it's true. Like it, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah,
like I genuinely am. Like I never thought I never was fast, but it's okay, you know. And I got into doing track days in 2009 on the road track days after doing Supermoto, because Supermoto went through like a blossom page. Like, you know, Wayne Maxwell was riding them. Everyone like every superbike rider in Australia was riding Supermoto. Herfoss was riding it, and then the tap turned off Supermoto.
Yep.
So I got rid of the Supermoto machines and everything. And like Jono and I the last time we rode Supermoto was at Morgan Park, and we smoked every superbike. It was the 450s because they're so manoeuvrable and that. Yep. And just the group we're in, we weren't in the fastest group, but it was just fun. So we gave up the Supermoto track days and all that stuff. Went road racing. Went to track days. So first track day went to Sydney Motorsport Park, Eastern Creek as it was called at the time. GSXR 1000, I think at that period. Set of super courses on. Pirelli, I think.
Pirelli. There's a mad connection there as well. But and
then went to their wet track, green tyre, like, it's my first ever track day. But it was good. Did a few track days. Like, just first time you do it, it was just like, this is... When I'm not good at dirt stuff, I'd sort of found what my home was, if that made sense.
Yep.
It was like, and I was always pretty handy with the road stuff and whatnot for those 10 odd years I'd ridden prior. This is cool. So went out and entered the Queensland Road Race Championships in 2011 after 2 years of track days and stuff. It was going okay, like, to start with. And then, I wrote my R1 off, like, at Morgan Park in Friday qualifying Queensland Road Race Championship. We just found a good setup for it too, because they were
clearly.
Yeah. Well, it was just starting to get fast. But they were a pig. Like, they were a real pig to ride, and everyone said it. Like, even the weight I was probably around the same build, everything at that time. My build hasn't changed since I was 4, I think, right?
Yeah.
I was born at this sort of size.
Born a lump.
Yeah. So
a lump, yeah.
Coming out that last, like, 11 and 12 at Morgan Park, you used to think, like, pick the front wheel up, and then it was like the Rossi years when you seen him on the Duke, or the Stoner years, you know? Yeah. Like, he used to do that all the time, and we finally just dialed this thing pretty well good, you know? And I come up to turn 2 at Morgan Park, setting respectable club times, you know, and still respectable now club times, you know? Like club racer. And, just come in and just lost the front a bit and slid underneath it, and I actually broke my kneecap as well. And I wasn't doing road racing much at this point. So was there by myself, R1 cartwheeled just off the track over the ripple strip there before the bridge. As I rotated, I hurt my knee, but I didn't realise at the time, but I bit my lip as I went to hop up. I fell backwards. Oh, this thing hurts, and got up and loaded it back on, and I got to the Hungry Jack's in town. I remember, memory, clear as day. Got to the Hungry Jack's in town and ordered some ice in a cup, just wrapped it in a thing, cable tied it to my knee because my knee was starting to blow up at this point. It was when the rugby, I'm guessing it was Rugby World Cup was on. So I thought, screw all this. I'm going to go party in town. So I drove back to Brizzy, went out in town, and the thing just... Bang. Yeah. So MRI, and I cracked the kneecap underneath, and tore a meniscus, and did a bit of damage to the damn thing, but no surgery, which was been awesome, you know. So I gave up racing, but still did track days, you know, after that for a bit. 2014, I just wanted to road race. That's all I wanted to probably ever do, really. But it was hidden amongst dirt bikes, and that was what I could afford to. The SV series was just taken off, which is now going to be called Super Twins, basically. Yes. And I bought one from, you know, that Performance Bikes in Melbourne.
Yes.
Michael, whatever his name is. Bought a 2012 for $1,400, stat write-off. And he showed me there was nothing too bad with it. Got it up here. There was nothing too bad with it. I'm like, $1,400, this is unreal. So Jono and I built that bike up, and it started off as a Lamb's bike, it turned out. So on the dyno, it made like 37 horsepower or something. There's nothing. I'm 115 kilos or whatever. I'm like, this isn't going to go real well. I just, you know, 2 years ago I was on a 185 horsepower R1. So little cheat on those, allegedly, for the Lambs people listening. But the pink wire you can cut, you can open them. It's very easy to do. So allegedly, don't do that at home.
Yes.
But opens it up. So that was one thing. And then over 3 years, we basically developed it to a point that it was quite healthy. And, I started, my first session was 1:38 on a SV at Morgan Park in 2014. By the end of it, I think it was a 25 or 26 there. And in 2016, so the year that I quit my job and everything. And I got second in the Queensland Road Race Championship, and was the 7th highest point scorer in road racing in Queensland. So I got the 7 plate to run.
Oh, how about that?
For 2017.
Yeah.
But I quit working. So, I...
Do you reckon if you were, hypothetically, to go back to road racing next year, that'll allow you to use the 7?
No, it's just for that year only. But I've still got the plate at home, and the year that I...
It's quite a famous number, the 7.
Yeah, it is. It's had the good ones on it.
Yeah.
And like the guy that I lost to that year won the Vic Road Race Championship, the New South Wales Road Race Championship, and the Queensland one.
Oh, good pedal.
So he's going good. Yeah. And so I've never won anything but I was really proud of it. It was a good achievement.
Yeah.
And the year where I succeed, like I'm a photographer by trade now, I guess you'd say. We didn't get trophies. We got photo books.
Yes.
So I got a photo book. So I got a photo book. But the other thing the club did, and like super grateful for it too, they didn't, like, no racing gets prize money anymore, but they gave their people that were podium first, second, third in the classes, they gave them 2 entries to the year, 3 entries for the first place, 2 entries for second place, and an entry for third place.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So I got 3 entries into 2017, but I didn't have the money because I went to uni. But awesome way to finish what it's not a racing career, but for me it was the end of that racing chapter. Yeah. And I turned that tap off till we did the Pan Am Track Days. So we did Pan Am Track Days this time last year.
Yep.
Since then, I bought a track bike, and I'll do some sort of race. I bought a race license, and I'll do some sort of racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah. I just love it.
Yeah. It's very cool. It's that G6R needs to make a track day appearance at Phillip Island in December. I think I know somebody that might have some track days booked in down there.
Yeah, it really does.
They may have booked a pit to themselves because they're not a very sociable person, so there'd be room in that pit.
Oh, that's all right.
For yourself, the colourful Stig and the unsociable one.
It's a good way to spend 5 days. Pre-Christmas.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, we'll see. I just got some tyres for it last week.
Yep.
So tyres on it are pretty good at the moment. I've probably got another half a day.
Yep.
Well, there's another day and a bit in it, but yeah, I'm of the firm belief, like, and I never was, like, I always was running second-hand tyres, and I still will, but like, just if you're going to travel to Melbourne or something, just maximise your opportunity, because you're outlaying so much time and effort and everyone else's investment in you or whatever to go do it.
Yep.
So I've got probably half a day really in them, or flog them off or whatever, and I've got another nice sets there ready to go, and I'm ready to do track days.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. What else?
I reckon we're pretty covered. I mean, there's a few things there from Annie, but I think we can. I think we can. No, I don't think so. I think we'll do them next time, because I think it's been fun making you sweat on it, and then I can make you sweat on it for the next time now.
Yeah. Was it all right? Was it interesting?
The chat?
Yeah.
It's good, man. It's good. I mean, clearly we've sat down and spoken for
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, I think what you're doing and the path and what you've said there about, you know, the corporate and the travel and this, that, and the other, and flying and having coin and doing, you know, but then just going, but no, it's not right. I need to do something, and I need to do something, and to be able to then combine, you know, an interest, a passion with work. I mean, well played. Brilliant. Well played to you and Annie.
Yeah.
To make it happen. You know, like, it's just, more people should do it, because, you know, I have a long-term friend that would tell me you're never going to hear anyone on a deathbed say, gee, I wish I'd worked harder. Yeah. And, you know, and so, yes, to do what you want to do, but make sure that you're enjoying what you're doing, and that's, I mean...
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you know, it's been a pleasure working with you over the last, you know, 5 years. With, you know, whether it's, you know, we met because we met at Dust Hustle. You took a photo, which is still my favourite photo that I have. I was riding my Dyna at Dust Hustle.
Just don't know how you did.
And made the same way I ride anything, with my eyes shut and squealing like a bitch. But, you know,
what's a bitch? Just try that terminology.
Like a female dog.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that photo is still my favourite photo. And then, you know, we we're looking for a photographer, we rang you, and bang, and it's led to not only working together, but a friendship and just enjoying motorcycling, which is, you know, as you say, I mean, the Pan Ams, I mean, you just rode one at Dust Hustle.
Yeah.
You've probably done more off-road riding on one than I have as well. The racetracks, quarter mile. Oh, that was the competitiveness. That's the one thing I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
We have a mutual friend, M63, who's a reasonably competitive man, you might say.
Yep. If
not the most competitive man that I know, very close to it. He's, and you two guys on the Pan Ams out of our Race Your Mates Day, which you've just done a video for us for as well, which is sensational as well, you know.
Yep.
Banging that Pan Am down. What times were you doing on that?
11.6. 11.6 at about 198 k's.
Yeah.
It's miles, 123 miles an hour or something.
So you're 200.
200 k's an hour. 11.6. Yeah, it was like, you know, and this is me. I'm a numbers and stats person. You as well, but you know how I have my heart rate monitor on for everything. Like it's on my watch and everything. That was equivalent to a track day, the 12 sessions.
Yep.
Just doing drags. So we did 12. I got caught up in it.
It was so funny because he's jumped on a bike. He'd been giving you the wind up all week, yeah?
Yeah, he has, yeah.
And because we thought we were going to have our V-Rod out there with the air shift on it.
Yep.
And you guys were, trading blows about who was going to teach who how to ride and blah, blah, blah. But then, for one reason or another, we didn't have that bike there. But we had the Pan Ams and a Fat Bob and a few other bikes. And you two have been trading blows all week.
Yeah.
And the competitiveness in you, I wasn't surprised to see it in 63. But, mate, you had that fucking red mist going. Oh, potty mouth, sorry. But you had that red mist going. Oh, yeah. It was a classic. It was bloody funny.
We were blitzing the line. Like, we're coming in the side gate, just go. Swap bikes to make sure, you know. You want to win. No matter what you do, you want to win. Like, if you don't want to win, like, why enter? This, I don't know. I just love competing.
Yep.
Like, I just really love competing. Like, I really do. It brings something out in people.
Yeah.
You know, and it's good. Like, to compete's good.
It's healthy, man.
It's good, you know. And we were looking at each other on the line, and no joke, like, I mountain bike. Like, you called me this morning, I was a mountain bike.
Yeah.
I try and mountain bike. This is part of this new life thing. But, like, I'll work all night tonight so I can mountain bike in the day. Whereas in the corporate life, I couldn't do that. I had to be there between, leave home at 6 in the morning and get home at 7 at night. Whereas now I can, hopefully, not every day, but I can go mountain biking at 7 till 9 and then work till 10 tonight or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So I'll mountain bike, and my heart rate will stay at whatever it might be. I'm no fit person, but I try and keep as fit as I can, But my heart rate was about the same drag race.
What was
Blew
it?
me away. I think I peaked at 163 or something that day.
Right.
But average for the runs was about 100. Like, the whole Arvo from when I put the tracking part on was about 140.
Yep.
And we did 12 consistent bang, bang,
It's
bang.
funny.
It's harder than it looks.
I'm not into drag racing. When we have our Race Your Mates days, I'll usually ride. I didn't ride at this one, but it's hard to believe that, you're doing 11 seconds and you do 10 runs, 12 runs.
Yep.
You've essentially done 2 minutes worth of work on the bike. Right?
Yeah, yep.
And how exhausting is it?
Oh, mate, it was incredible. And
Yep.
I spoke to Rob afterwards. He asked me, have you done much of this before? No, I've done it a couple of times. I actually did it on my CR when I first got it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I've done it a couple of times and stuff, but never as many as that day, especially in the daytime. Test and tune's always at night time, a bit cooler. He goes, it's harder than it looks, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, it is. And it is. It's just try not to have the rev limiter. Just trying to get everything so silky smooth, and it is harder than it looks.
Especially when you're riding next to a buddy who's
on the same thing,
the same bike,
yeah,
same tyres,
incredibly capable,
a very handy pilot, very handy, and ultra competitive.
Yeah.
Like 15 out of 10 on the competitive scale.
Yeah. And it was, you know, it was cool, and I don't want to talk down to anyone, but the starts, like the first start that I did, because I filmed for 2 hours before. I thought I'll film, get as much footage as I can, and then we'll ride. But that's going to come across with ego. But the first start, like against whoever I was against, the first one, I was like, man, this is sick. I've actually won this at the start, and it's all in the start. The start means so much. But yeah, after those, then lining up against him, I haven't won this at the start because he can start too, you know. But that's the thing. There's so much to do, and love the opportunity of doing it. And I don't know, I'd do it again. Like,
well, we're doing it on October 29th.
Is it?
Yeah, locked in, which is I think the weekend before the next Dust Hustle.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure my memory's not like yours.
Yeah, okay. 29th sounds good.
But it's definitely the 29th, and I think the Dust Hustle's the following weekend. The North
Brisbane one. Dust Hustle 13. But to touch on, I think the work thing too, like, and without getting too soppy about it or nothing, but like things like, say, COVID, like coming out of uni, the time COVID sort of started, and starting a business in that time. And my business is a very events-focused business with film. It was really silly in the way, like, we just didn't know that would happen, you know. None of us knew. Yeah. But, you know, you guys here, like, the first sort of week were like, how's your work? I'm like, oh, not a lot. Come and film all the bikes in the shop. Yep. At that point, March 2020, April 2020, we didn't know if we could get customers in here or nothing. So relationships like that one, there's another guy, Dave Maddock, between you guys getting that going, we wouldn't, like, no opportunity would have led to nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't have been, we moved back to Queensland because of the work you guys offered us to do. Dave in the South work has helped out just so much. It's been incredible. It's just real hard. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you don't realise the opportunities you get until you just fall on it. And you're like, oh man, that's unreal. And I'm surviving, you know? It's not taken for granted. I think that's a big thing. So you got us through COVID though.
Oh man.
In a way, that was like, shit, what do we do
here? A small part of it.
But it helped.
Small part of it. But it's, you know, we needed to have that work done.
It was the same thing, yeah.
So, yeah. It's just, you know, as I say, it's a small part of it, and it's good fun along the way. I mean, how better to go to work, enjoy what you're doing, and do it with people that you enjoy hanging out with.
Well, you look at the first night, COVID time, right?
Yep.
That we filmed the bikes. It was you, it might have been Ash that was working here at the time, myself. We filmed it. We had a pizza. Because we didn't know what the world was doing. It was weird. Like, it was, and, you know, you enjoy it. And it's such a fun thing to do. And filming for me now is, I don't know, I'm getting more creative. I'm a literal person. And I keep telling myself I'm a literal person. There's a little creative side that's actually in there. And
that little Byron bit's coming through.
It's there.
It's so
Which is good. It's good.
It's so good. Well, I mean, Byron's not that far from where you, where you spent most of your childhood at sunny downtown Ballina.
Yeah.
You know, so, no, very cool. Very awesome. Cool. Thank you, Mick. Hopefully, you enjoyed our little chat. I've certainly enjoyed it. It's, once again,
2 hours and 15 minutes or something.
Jesus.
Thanks, mate. And, you know, for those that are listening, thanks for listening. If you're interested, thanks for listening. I'm sure there's some things there that you didn't know or did know or whatever. But, and all those people that helped along the way. It's been, thank you so much.
Good. Well, that's it. It's a wrap. I'm wearing a Toby Price shirt, and one of my favourite bits out of your podcasts.
Oh, no.
Thanks for coming along. Is that what he said? What did he say at the start?
Oh, mate. I'm sure he loves it.
And you said, "Oh, thanks for having you." No, thanks for having me, or something like that. Bloody sensational.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
coming. Mate, just he's a friend, but what a champion.
Oh,
total.
Brilliant.
So
yeah.
We'll be back.
Thank you very much.
That's all we have time for on today's show. If you get the chance, head over to YouTube and hit subscribe on the Talk and Chatter page. Also, head over to iTunes and give us a star rating and a review there. It all helps to get the podcast out there. A big thank you goes to everyone that's been doing this already, and we'll be back with another show soon.